Picture this. You're circling above a tropical storm with 280 souls aboard, and your fuel gauge is approaching zero. What would you do when every airport turns you away? On October 25, 2022, Singapore Airlines Flight 319 faced exactly this nightmare scenario. The Boeing 777, having traveled over 6,000 miles from London, found itself trapped in a deadly weather system with nowhere to land. This wasn't supposed to happen to one of the world's most prestigious airlines, known for impeccable safety records since 1972. What started as a routine 13-hour journey transformed into a heart-stopping hour-long battle for survival. The seasoned crew, led by a captain with over 14,000 flight hours, would make decisions that tested every ounce of their training. Before we dive into this incredible story, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for the world documentaries, because aviation safety lessons like these deserve to be heard. The calm before the storm, London's Heathrow Airport buzzed with its usual evening energy as passengers boarded the Singapore-bound Boeing 777. Among the 280 people settling into their seats were families returning home, business executives and tourists eager to explore Southeast Asia. The three-pilot crew completed their pre-flight briefing, reviewing weather forecasts that predicted typical tropical thunderstorms at Singapore's Changi Airport. Nothing alarming for such an experienced team. The captain made a calculated decision. 106,000 kilograms of fuel would suffice for the journey. Standard protocol accounted for alternate airports nearby, including Paya Lebar Air Base, Kuala Lumpur, and Senai in Malaysia. Everything appeared perfectly ordinary as the massive aircraft pushed back from the gate at 8 p.m., its twin engines roaring to life beneath the wings of Singapore's national pride. Cruising toward the unknown, Flight 319 climbed smoothly through European airspace, reaching 31,000 feet over Belgium within 30 minutes. As night descended, cabin crew served meals while passengers reclined their seats, watching movies or attempting to sleep during the long overnight crossing. Air traffic controllers granted the pilots several shortcuts through quieter nighttime corridors, actually saving fuel, a fortunate bonus that would prove bitterly ironic later. The relief captain rotated through the cockpit, ensuring both operating pilots could rest properly before the demanding arrival phase. Everything functioned flawlessly as the aircraft raced eastward at 14 kilometers per minute, a silver bullet threading through the darkness. 12 hours melted away without incident. Nobody aboard suspected that Singapore's weather was deteriorating far beyond normal tropical patterns, setting the stage for an unprecedented crisis. Arrival turns into chaos as dawn approached over Southeast Asia. The crew began their descent preparations, expecting a straightforward landing at runway 20 right. Their flight computer calculated they'd arrive with 7,000 kilograms remaining comfortably above the legally required 3,000 kilogram minimum reserve. However, Singapore's winds had shifted dramatically, creating dangerous tailwind conditions exceeding 10 knots, beyond safe landing limits for commercial aircraft. Controllers redirected arriving flights into holding patterns while they assessed the rapidly changing situation. Flight 319 entered its first holding pattern at Pasbu Waypoint, 40 miles north of Changi. The captain studied his weather radar with growing concern. Heavy precipitation blanketed not just Singapore, but their primary alternate airports as well. Dark green and yellow splotches on the radar screen told a worrying story. They were running out of options even before they'd attempted a single approach. The fuel equation turns critical. Controllers switched runways to 02 left, forcing aircraft to take longer routing from the north. Visibility plummeted to just 500 meters as torrential rain swept across the region. Within minutes of being cleared from the hold, winds shifted again, making runway 02 left equally unusable. Two aircraft ahead of Flight 319 executed go-arounds, unable to land safely. Controllers suspended all arrivals indefinitely. The pilots were directed to Samco Waypoint for more holding, with an optimistic 5-minute estimate. At low altitude, the Boeing 777 devoured fuel at an alarming rate, approximately 7,000 kilograms per hour. The captain informed controllers they could complete only one holding pattern before diverting. Their preferred alternate, Batam in Indonesia, showed better conditions. Yet every passing minute eroded their dwindling options, transforming a routine arrival into a race against empty tanks. Declaring emergency, no turning back. As Flight 319 circled Samco, Singapore's visibility deteriorated below 500 meters. Controllers couldn't guarantee acceptance. The captain made a bold request. Instead of flying south away from both airports, could they orbit overhead? This desperate gambit bought mere minutes. Their fuel state crossed the threshold. Continuing would consume their mandatory final reserve, the untouchable 30-minute buffer required by law. The captain assumed flying duties from the first officer and declared minimum fuel status to controllers. Minutes later, with Batam still not confirming approval and the aircraft just 13 nautical miles away, the situation escalated. The flight computer predicted arrival with only final reserves remaining. The captain's voice crackled through the radio with 3 words that changed everything. Mayday fuel, emergency declared. Flight 319 was now committed to landing at Batam, approval or not. 3 attempts, 3 failures. Bottom's runway 22 lacked the precision instrument landing system the pilots preferred, offering only lateral guidance. As they descended through 1,600 feet, tower controllers delivered crushing news. Winds had shifted, bringing 30-knot tailwinds well beyond landing limits. The captain aborted, climbing away while storm cells crept toward the airport. With fuel critically low, every second counted as they repositioned for another attempt. Their second approach switched to runway 04, which offered full instrument guidance, but the captain's decision to fly a rushed, unconventional approach backfired spectacularly. Maneuvering too close to the runway, he intercepted the guidance beams at merely 800 feet far below the standard, 2,000 to 3,000 feet. The autopilot refused to execute an automatic landing, displaying warnings as the aircraft wandered off course both laterally and vertically. At 130 feet above ground, the captain went around again. The final gamble. The passengers behind them grew increasingly panicked as the third attempt began. 3 runways, 3 approaches, all failures. The fuel gauges showed critically low levels, with only inches of jet fuel remaining in the tanks. The captain attempted runway 04 once more, but as they descended, the ground proximity warning bled sink rate. At 200 feet, the approach was too unstable, the descent rates too high. He reluctantly went around for the 4th time, knowing this was their absolute last chance. With engines potentially minutes from flameout, the captain made an almost unthinkable decision for a 280% jetliner, a tight 180-degree teardrop turn while descending to set up for runway 22 again. No instruments, no autopilot assistance, purely visual flying with 15-knot crosswinds and 5-knot tailwinds pushing them faster than normal. This violated every stabilized approach protocol, but textbook procedures meant nothing when fuel exhaustion threatened total loss of control. The runway appeared through the rain as the captain rolled out of the aggressive turn. The aircraft swayed left and right, the captain fighting to align with the centerline despite the challenging winds. Every second felt like an eternity as the heavy bowing descended toward the rain-soaked runway. At 9:19 a.m. Singapore time, 77 minutes after their initial approach clearance, Flight 319's wheels finally kissed the tarmac. Relief flooded the cockpit. After 4 harrowing attempts, all 280 souls were safe. Lessons written in near disaster. Singapore Airlines didn't waste this wake-up call. The airline completely revised its fuel policy and threat assessment models, establishing stricter guidelines for early diversions when destination weather deteriorates. They mandated that controllers provide definitive updates rather than optimistic estimates that keep aircraft burning fuel in holding patterns. Their airport briefing documents underwent comprehensive reviews, ensuring every alternate airport, no matter how rarely used, contained complete operational details. The airline created simulator scenarios replicating Flight 319's conditions, testing pilots' decision-making under pressure and fuel-critical situations. One crucial detail emerged. Bottom's runway 04 localizer signal was unaligned with a runway heading, making automatic landings impossible, something not documented in their quick reference guides. This incident proved that even elite airlines with impeccable safety cultures can face scenarios where multiple failures cascade simultaneously. Flight 319's story reminds us that aviation safety exists on a knife's edge between perfect preparation and chaotic reality. The crew's experience and determination ultimately saved lives, but their initial fuel calculations and approach management created the crisis. What would you have done in the captain's position? When do you abandon your destination and head for an alternate? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below, sharing your perspective. If you found this story as gripping as we did, smash that like button and subscribe to the World Documentaries for more incredible true stories from aviation, history, and beyond. Check out our video on Avianca Flight 52 to see what happens when fuel emergencies end tragically. Until next time, fly safe and stay curious.